In answer to your question about obstacles to remaining in open awareness, for me, it feels like one place I get hooked or hung up is there's like a misunderstanding or a belief that kind of what you were saying, that I need this contraction to stay safe in the world. And it's, if I look at it through the mind, it doesn't make sense how one could be safe in openness. So there's a point of confusion there. And I also understand that contraction doesn't actually keep me safe. And like looking at the world around me and how contracted it is, I can see that the answer to that is not more contraction.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, there's like an opening. It's like maybe there's already a crack and the crack is widening because it's requiring me to step forward into a more expansive state and to meet the world from a more expansive state. It really resonated what you said to Amoda about a frequency shift. So I was wondering if you could speak more to that.
My understanding as you spoke was that the contraction that you experience is a defendedness, is an attempt to defend something in order to feel safe. And yeah, that may come across in your energy field, in your words, in your actions, and so on. So there's a few kind of if you like, levels to what you're speaking of. One is healthy boundaries, which we must have in the relative world. Yeah, if we acknowledge that we also have a human experience in the world of form, which is a fact, yes, that is our experience, yeah. Healthy boundaries are necessary. But healthy boundaries do not need to come from a place of contraction. They're simply healthy boundaries. A yes and a no. And that comes from knowing yourself. It's also a very natural impulse. It gets distorted because of conditioning, because of shoulds and shouldn'ts and right ways to act and wrong ways to act, and needing to defend myself will also obscure right action, right yes and right no. So let's just be clear that healthy boundaries are not something to be scoffed at or ignored. However, that's not what I would call a contraction, yes? A contraction, and of course you're going to experience it in whatever way you're experiencing it, but my sense is that you experience it as a need to in some ways withdraw and put up some kind of barrier, so that you can stay safe in that. And that is a false safety net, which becomes a prison eventually, yeah? So the frequency shift that we are speaking of is really a paradigm shift, where you no longer need to build yourself on emotional and mental strategies that attempt to protect you or control life, or any of these conceptual sort of ideas of how you need to be or how life needs to be. That will create a frequency shift. I mean, I can't go into the physics of it because that's not really my realm of expertise, but I would say it has a correlate in the more material, physical world. But I really use that as a way to point, the word frequency shift, to point to the shift, actually the paradigm shift from being a victim to being free. And we are a victim, not just in circumstances. I'm not talking about that kind of victim of war or trauma or abuse or whatever it might be. I'm speaking of victim as being a victim of our own feelings and a victim of our own thoughts, where we may feel something. It might even just be fear or uncertainty, and we're a victim of that. In other words, we withdraw from it, or we try to suppress it, or there's some reaction to it in some ways. And that's being a victim. That's you've become smaller